Greetings, scholars. Coach Sean here. I hope and trust that you're all home safe and sound with family and friends. Today, I'm super excited. I'm excited because I get to interview a professional athlete who also happens to be one of my former players. Here's a little clip about him. Danny Perez began his hockey career playing in his hometown of Bloomfield, New Jersey. Here, Danny is pictured with one of his favorite NHL players and role models growing up, Scott Gomez. Danny went on to play for several high-level hockey clubs in his hometown of Bloomfield, New Jersey, as well as his high school hockey team at St. Peter's Prep. Danny was then signed to Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights Junior A Hockey Club, where he was named captain. Danny found great success and later was recruited by the University of Maine's Black Bear Division I college hockey team. After graduating Maine University, Daniel played professional hockey in the Southern Professional League and currently is working his way up the ranks in the East Coast Hockey League toward his goals of one day playing in the NHL. So, as I was saying in the intro, I'm super excited. This is a big opportunity for me today to introduce to all of you, scholars, parents, faculty, a good, close personal friend of mine, someone who I've known for a really long time. He is a kid who I've known when he was a young guy, just starting out. And as a lot of you guys know, I'm a hockey coach along with being your physical education teacher at the school. And I figured this was a great opportunity to bring to you someone from my other part of professional life, and introduce him to you as a person who's involved in physical activity, to say the least. He is a hockey player. He is currently diving into the professional hockey ranks. He is a person who's played hockey his whole life, and youth hockey, high school hockey, junior hockey, college hockey, and now professional hockey. And I figured this would be a good opportunity to have a quick little meeting, a little interview with Danny Perez. Danny, thanks so much for being here. It's really cool to have you.
Thank you, Coach Sean, for having me. Really appreciate it.
So how's the quarantine treating you? How's everything going over at the Danny Perez household?
It's not too bad. Adjusting to this sort of lifestyle for right now.
Yeah.
Luckily, I've got a little home gym set up downstairs. Picked up a bunch of stuff on Facebook Marketplace right when I got home. So that's been keeping me occupied. And, just trying to utilize this time as wisely as possible. But, I live in a small house. There's 4 of us in here, so we're constantly running into each other. But it's all good. So.
All right. Well, that's good. I mean, it sounds like you're navigating okay. I mean, just for a little quick background for our guys. I mean, I've been posting little videos for our guys at our elementary/middle school so that they can keep physical education on their mind and thinking about staying physically active, doing little physical challenges. And I figured, switch it up a little bit and give them a little interview with someone who I figured, obviously meets that parameter. I mean, obviously are having to stay physically active, but our school, just to give you kind of a little context, and I know we've talked before a little bit about it, a middle school/elementary school, our kids, I mean, we have some pretty smart kids, to say the least. Our scholars are pretty smart. Our school caters to a very particular niche of, scholars. But we also have some pretty active and physically gifted kids too. I mean, they're involved in sports. They love sports. They love to be physically active, and so forth. We have a big basketball population. We have a big soccer population at our school. However, you're a hockey player, and I'm a hockey player. I'm a former hockey player myself, and I've had the pleasure of coaching and working with you. So just starting off right off the bat, you come from a family where your dad was pretty much a baseball guy. And, we, as a fellow Black and brown person, you are Cuban-American, you live in Jersey, you got involved in a sport where you don't see too many, or you haven't historically, at least going back to when I started playing, as many people of color playing that sport. How did you get involved in the context of, growing up in a household where your dad was a big baseball fan? How did you get involved in the sport? What were some of your earliest memories of kind of getting involved in ice hockey?
Yeah. So one day my mom came home from work and said that her boss had given her a couple Rangers tickets, 2 Rangers tickets. And she said, yeah, I got 2 Rangers tickets. It's called hockey. I don't know what this is, but said to my father, "Hey, Al, do you want to take him to the game?" And my dad goes, "Yeah, sure." I mean, I think he said prior to that, the only hockey game he watched glimpses of the 1980 game.
Right.
This was back in when this happened. This was probably around 1996, 97.
Okay.
So it's been far removed since his last hockey game that he even seen or
Mhm.
got a glimpse of. So yeah, we ended up going into the city that night and went to the New York Rangers game. And um, he told me that I was at the game and I was taking it all in, and I said to him, "I want to play this." So he just didn't know how to respond to that or what to do. He's like, "All right, I guess I'm going to try and, see what I can do here." So I guess the next day he went to, I think, Toys R Us or something, or some toy store in the area, and he picked up these um, little blades. They're four-wheeled roller blades that you put on your shoes.
Sure.
At this time, I'm 3 years old. So he surprised me with those the next day, and I was in the basement kind of wheeling around there and scooting around. So did that for a little bit. And then I think around a few months later, when I turned 4, I officially hopped on the ice at a Learn to Skate at Floyd Hall Arena
Mm.
on the campus of Montclair State University. And ever since then, I just fell in love with it and was hooked. And that's kind of how it began. But yeah.
Wow. No, that's, it's a familiar story. You talk to hockey players and you talk to lots of people around the way. And you mentioned the 80 Olympic game, and historically that's a big deal for hockey fans and just historically in general. I think, we talk about hockey because that's the context that you and I have together. I mean, I, as your former coach with you on our Patriots team and working with you individually as a skills development coach, but just as far as athletes in general, I think certain things you need to know, and that's one of them. Okay, I'm looking at my notes, and I've been fortunate enough to kind of been tagging along for this ride, or peripheral stance a little bit, and I know that you've been involved in hockey almost every single level that you could possibly be involved in. I mean, you were involved in, as you were talking about your earliest introductions, you were involved in youth hockey. You played at a high level at some point, starting to be involved with AAA teams. You were involved with high school hockey. You were involved with junior hockey at the junior A level. You also then went on to play college hockey at the Division I level. I mean, why don't you? And then obviously right now involved with professional hockey. Give us an idea of that timeline, or at least the steps along the way and the teams that you were involved in.
Yep. So it started off, my first set of organized hockey, I guess you could say, was called the Blue Star League. I think I was around 6 years old. It was kind of an in-house program at Floyd Hall Arena, Montclair State University. And then from there, I started playing with the Montclair Blues, which is a travel program. And you kind of travel into the northern Jersey, lower tiered upstate New York area. After that, I started moving over to the New Jersey Youth Devils at a South Mountain Arena,
Right.
which was a higher level travel program. And from there, it kind of opened up my eyes to the bigger world that hockey is, and how there's players in Massachusetts and all over New England and even parts of Maryland, Virginia, Philadelphia, and that's where we would kind of travel to. And at that point, that was going on till I was about 16 years old. I was playing for that program. I played high school hockey with St. Peter's Prep in Jersey City. And yeah, so then after that, I ended up going to play junior B with the New Jersey Wildcats. And it's just been kind of a weird, unconventional career path, I'd say. Just consistently felt like I had to, find my way and kind of create that way. I know that some of the earliest points where I was started to really find my way and gain that confidence was through you with playing for the New Rock Patriots in the springs and in the summers when I was, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, 14 years old, up until, sophomore, junior year of high school. Those sort of things helped kind of instill confidence in me, just having someone like you believe in me. And from that point, it was just a matter of me believing in myself and finding that path and finding a way. And that's when things started happening after high school, when I played in Boston in the Eastern Junior Hockey League. I played with the Boston Bandits there. Around Christmas time, I ended up getting cut from that team, and I had to go down and play at the U18 level, which is a lower level than that. And I was down in Washington, D.C., playing for a team there called the Washington Little Capitals. And then that following summer, went to a couple camps for this league called the United States Hockey League, the USHL, out in Dubuque, Iowa was one of them. Mm-hmm. And there from that camp, I actually got cut from that team. But an opportunity presented itself with Coach Justin Lyle and the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights, who was another person like a Sean Edwards to me, who just kind of had that faith in me, and I had to throw some trust in that. And he gave me an opportunity to play Junior A in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania in the Eastern Hockey League, and gave me a lot of opportunity, gave me a lot of confidence, and I played 2 years there. And then from that opportunity, I got a Division I offer from the University of Maine. Wow. in my second season there in October. So at that point, I was 21 years old. So I kind of jumped around there with the timeline a little bit, but in my senior season was when I started playing Junior B. And at that point, I kind of had to make a decision where do I go right to college and kind of take that path and steer towards, getting my 4-year degree and entering the work world. And because I didn't have any college hockey opportunities at all at that point. So I could either do that or take a risk and take a 1-year risk or a 3-year risk of that. That was kind of the timeline. I'm either taking 1 year off and it works out and I'm playing college hockey, or I don't. It takes 2 or 3. So that was the kind of timeline I had to risk there. And I said, you know what, might as well give it a shot. And I just ran with that opportunity. And that's when that whole Boston, Washington Little Capitals, Pennsylvania kind of saga started. And then from that point, I just, was all in. And luckily it worked out. And then from that point on, I did 4 years at the University of Maine. Faced a bit of adversity there as far as being in and out of the lineup. So that was also very challenging and very tough for me. And then after that, I had luckily received an opportunity to play professional hockey after my senior season. Went down in April to Greenville, South Carolina to play for the Greenville Swamp Rabbits in the East Coast Hockey League. From there, had another opportunity, another coach who had believed in me. And I did really well with my opportunity there. Put up some decent numbers and then signed a contract there for next year. And again, got cut. Got cut at the start of that year and had to go down and play in the Southern Professional Hockey League in Macon, Georgia. A couple call-ups to other teams, one of them being the Newfoundland Growlers. Played 2 games there, got sent back down. And then I got called up to Kansas City in the ECHL as well. And in my second game there, I had torn my meniscus, and that was the season for me. And then I finally was rehabbing, got surgery, did all that, got cleared to play. And the night before my first game back, unfortunately, the season got canceled due to coronavirus. So, John, I'm sure like we've talked my whole life, the pattern there has kind of just always been consistent hurdles that have had to, jump over, and sure. They've been unbelievable lessons. And I tell Sean every single day we talk that I would not be able to do that without him, and I'm so grateful for that support. So just a bit of an unconventional path, but eventually I've been able to achieve some of my goals thus far.
Yeah, it's just, we definitely have talked. And listen, as a coach, it goes back and forth. It's a reciprocal type thing. It means that, players, it's easy for players to feel that, they get so much out of hopefully a good relationship with a coach and a program and an organization. Like you mentioned several instances where, you were faced with a pretty tough challenge, and then a coach came along that kind of had some faith and belief in what you brought to the table. And that helped kind of breathe energy into you. But it goes the same way for us coaches. And, I've been blessed and fortunate. I have all these pictures behind me on the wall of our Patriots teams, and you're in one of those pictures, of course, more than one. And, we take so much from the relationships as well. Wow, you really touched on a lot there. And it seems like the common denominator is, there's adversity and there's challenges that we have to overcome. And it's not easy. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of do an interview with you. and just present that with our scholars, because, our scholars, we're an inner city school, and there are parents listening to this interview, not just kids, and hopefully parents are listening, sitting down next to their kids and kind of maybe explaining some of these things. You're going to run into tough times. You're going to run into challenging moments. And sometimes you may feel like, hey, listen, I don't know if I want to do this. And you really kind of have to dig down deep sometimes and push through, and good things will happen. You've had a lot of challenges along the way, but you've constantly been pushing towards your goals, which is exceptional, because hockey, just like any other sport, can be really tough, especially when you start thinking about doing it professionally. Tell us about when whether it be youth hockey, and you've maybe touched on this a little bit, but whether it be youth hockey or junior A hockey or college hockey or what have you, what were some of the most meaningful moments for you? And again, they don't have to be wonderful, rosy pictured things. I mean, we learn from tough times too. So what were some of meaningful moments along the way? Maybe some big milestone moments that really kind of had an impact on you and helped kind of guide you to where you are now.
Mm-hmm. So for me, I think I tend to be pretty hard on myself. Mm-hmm. And I always try to look to improve. And when things aren't really going my way, it really bothers me. And that's kind of happened a lot in my career. For example, playing in Boston, getting cut, those things, it's happened so many times. But the little moments that I can remember was, just consistently working and having a slight little thing happen of positivity. Maybe it's one game where I put up a couple points, and all of a sudden the next day in practice, I'm up on the first line, which is the top line, and things started going from there. Little glimpses of hope like that. I just fed off that, and I just consistently worked to just get that little glimpse of hope, and just kind of, it gave me a jolt of energy and made me feel like I had this massive sense of confidence and belief that I could do it. And I would just consistently strive for that. So there was multiple times at every level that I would receive those, but it was just constantly getting through the different hurdles that I had to go through of getting cut, and just constantly proving to myself that I could do it. That I think was the biggest thing for me, is just no matter how many times I got cut, I still ended up coming back and making to the next level. And I just, at this point, it's like I look back at all that's behind me, and it's, getting cut earlier this year, it's like, well, you know what, that's nothing new to me. So I think those little glimpses of hope that I've had, I think I've just fed off that, and I know that's going to be what's going to keep me going throughout the next part of my journey.
Yeah, what an amazing lesson. We're all going to face setbacks. It's just whether or not, it's just going to happen. We're going to face setbacks, and especially on our way to goals. And it's inevitable. Sometimes, things may seem bleak, but whether or not we can kind of get up and keep going. You know what, as a student athlete, and that's a big part of what we talk to our kids about at our school. You're a student and you're an athlete, and that's an amazing thing to be, because you get the best of both worlds. There's excitement in both of those worlds. But tell us, on the athletic side of it, what were some of the things you had to do and have to do and continue to do in order to kind of stay at the top of your game? You've played, you faced a lot of adversity, but you played an awful lot of games. You were pretty much in the lineup over there at Maine University. You've played in a ton of games in juniors. You were in the mix. And in order to perform at that level, there's stuff that you have to do, whether it be on the ice or in the gym or what have you. What's your regimen like in order to stay kind of like at that high level?
Mm-hmm. Well, so it starts in the summers, I'd say. On the summers, you're on your own. Because up at school, you have coaches there, strength and conditioning coaches, equipment managers. And that, from this athletic standpoint, obviously there's academic counselors who are always there, in the mix. But from an athletic standpoint, there's always someone there keeping an eye on you, making sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. But I think it really starts in the summers. That's when you really prepare, when you're on your own, and you have to keep yourself accountable. So it starts with every single day working out. I'm working out in the summers every single day, 5 days a week, and then Saturdays I'll get a light workout. Sundays, usually my off day. But yeah, Monday through Friday, working out around 2 hours a day, skating, say 4 times a week on average the whole summer, and just kind of holding myself accountable, just constantly putting in that work. I could think of countless times growing up where, I'm from New Jersey, so the popular thing is everyone goes to the Jersey Shore in the summer. And I missed out on a lot of that. A lot of vacations I just couldn't go on, and I chose not to go on because I needed to put the work in, because come September, all my other teammates from Western Canada, Vancouver, or Toronto, or Boston, they're putting the work in the summer. And if I don't do my part on my own, come September, when we're at training camp and everyone's pretty much trying out for those spots on the top lines and getting that slight edge at the start of the season, I better show up. Otherwise, I didn't put in the work in the summer, and that's going to show. So it starts there in the summers. And then when it gets to school, you're constantly running around. There's multiple classes a day. Some are 2 hours from 8 o'clock to 10 p.m. I've had a couple classes like that where, skate with the team for practice at 3 till about 4:30, 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock rolls around, get off 5:30, 6 o'clock. You're in the weight room for a quick 45-minute to an hour workout. And then after that, quickly grab dinner and go to class. So it's just being able to manage that time and be smart with that time. You don't get much free time, but when you do, you really got to make sure you're resting your body, eating the right foods, proper nutrition, drinking a lot of water, properly hydrating, very important, because those little things add up and they could really make a difference. That's what I've always noticed, was that it's not really the huge things that matter, but when you get to the higher levels, are you going to have it's little things. Are you going to have a soda or a water? I mean, that soda really can affect your play. I mean, I've seen it. So it's just making little sacrifices like that. Sometimes you have to make bigger ones, like not going to hang out with your buddies down at the shore. And sometimes it's just eating the right foods. So just that's one thing I've noticed.
Yeah, you know what, and that speaks to our guys, our middle school guys, if you guys are listening. It's been tough because school got interrupted because of this whole coronavirus thing. And that's unfortunate. However, it doesn't mean that everything has to stop. I mean, I know you're still training. You have a season that you have to get ready for once they get up and going. And, same thing with our middle schoolers. I mean, we have a bunch of guys who are graduating this year and, who have graduated, our 8th graders, and they're going off to high school. And a lot of them, we have some pretty decent basketball players. Shout out to Mr. Perez and the girls and boys basketball team at Neighborhood Charter School Harlem. But, they a lot of those guys are looking to play and continue playing in high school. And a lot of the stuff that you're speaking to, taking accountability and going out and training on your own and keeping yourself, ready during the off season and being ready for the season when it comes during the off season is so important. So I'm hoping that our guys are taking suit of that lesson as well. So many young players, whether they be basketball players, soccer players, but in this case, we're talking about hockey, like yourself, they aspire to one day play junior A hockey. You did that. You went for that goal. And I saw this happen in real time. And then you aspire to, hopefully get an opportunity to go to a college and play for a Division I college school. You did that, in university. A storied university, Paul Correa, back in my day, was a Maine University grad. I mean, you got to play there, and you played for his coach, Red Gedrin. And, it's always challenging playing for lots of different coaches, lots of different organizations. Number one, what made it different for you? How did you get to all these goals? I mean, I know you're working hard. I mean, I probably can answer a little bit of this. It puts you on the spot to speak on it yourself. But, how come it worked out for Danny Perez to get to each, whether it was hard, it was hard. It wasn't easy to get to all these milestones where a lot of other players, who have that same conviction in their heart fall short. How come it worked out for you?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me is just love for the game. That to me, I just was love for the game. I absolutely love hockey, and I wasn't willing to take no because I want this so badly. And I just had this massive sense of belief in myself. Like I said, I mentioned before, I was very hard on myself, still am, but I also had this sense of belief in myself that it could be done. Everyone says, I've been told we had coaches seminars growing up, and they always told you, oh, the chance of making the NHL is 1 in a million.
Mhm.
You know, the chances of playing Division I is 1 in 500,000, whatever statistic it is. And I would sit and think to myself while everyone else was like, oh, well, you know, it's not going to happen. In my head, I'm like, well, someone's got to be there.
Right.
Someone has to do it.
Right.
So I would just kind of hold that belief in my heart that it has to be done. And why can't it be me? And it's just consistently not taking no for an answer. I refused to take no for an answer at every level. I just kept getting, you know, cut at every single level. I've been cut and told no, but I love this so much, and I put in so much effort, and I have so much passion for it that I just cannot, I refuse to, you know, be told no.
Right.
And that's just for me, kind of the one thing that sticks out. As far as, you know, I think the mental aspect is a massive portion of this, far greater than I ever realized, even in the past couple years or so. And I think it's important. I mean, obviously, I wasn't able to do this on my own. I obviously have very supportive parents. And like I said, I tell Sean, and I'll tell you guys right now, I would not be where I am by any means without having a person like Sean in my life. Just having that person to, you know, kind of bounce things off of. And he's expanded my mind and taught me so much, that I would not be where I am without him. So just having that support system as well has been so instrumental. And I owe so much of my success to my family and to him. So I think a lot of it is up here, just believing in yourself and willing to put up with more than the next person to achieve that goal that you want.
Right, right. Well, I hear you speak a lot about perseverance in there, and that's such a big quality to have. I mean, thanks for the, thanks for the mention as far as, I guess the little bit that I had to be able to bring to the table. I appreciate that. But, I mean, and helping you answer that question too. I mean, listen, you're always a very skillful player, I remember from playing for us, you had really great hands, I think, along with all the, but there was an adaptability, and an ability to adapt to your environment that I think that you've shown, and a lot of other really good hockey players that I've had the opportunity to work with. I think that's a common thread. When you got to juniors, or when let's say you start off with AAA hockey, when you got there, there's an adjustment to be made. And then when you move on to play at a higher level and you go and play junior A's, there's an adjustment. Then you go to college hockey and play at the Division I level. And every step of the way, I saw you make the necessary adjustments to your game in order to kind of fill those roles and survive there and thrive and push yourself. So I think that's a big part of it. But, you up our coaching game. For me to be able to have players like you be on rosters and play on teams, the ones that I've been able to coach. So it's been a pleasure. And, I thank you for that. We talk about mentorship, we talk about coaching. You have a younger brother who also plays hockey. And, what do you think the impact is for him having an older brother like yourself going through all these different levels, as far as being an example for him and so forth? I mean, how does that play out, with your younger brother? How do you think it influences him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope I have an impact and an influence on him. I think I do a little bit. But, also to touch back on your point is that, being able to adjust was something that I wasn't really too conscious of. I look back and I go, oh yeah, I was able to kind of adjust there in certain situations or certain teams with certain roles I had to play. And only recently have I kind of grasped that concept and understand that, okay, like that's something I did do that brought me a lot of success. And that's something I kind of try and focus on. And that's something I try and help my little brother, Steven. I've kind of been through the ropes and I haven't had the easiest path like we've talked about. And I think that I've tried to learn from a lot of the stuff that I've gone through, and I try to pass that on to him. We sit down and we watch his game film for a few hours, and I didn't really have someone with me in the house to sit down and watch my game. I came from a baseball family, I have other buddies whose parents play in the NHL and their dad sits and tells them, this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do. So the fact that I can sit there, watch his film and say, okay, you need to be doing this differently. You need to be doing this differently. You do this really well, do more of this. And I hope that, my work ethic with us working out together, he sees that this is what you have to do. This is what you have to eat. So I hope that little things like that he picks up on, but I just try to do my best to, not over coach him. I still want to be his brother. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to be someone who's constantly, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this, because I'm not his coach. I'm not his parent. I'm his brother. So I just hope that little things he can pick up on through my actions of, the way that I eat and my work ethic and how I train, how I skate. So, like I said, I tried to, I hope I've made an impact on his career, and I hope he's learned from kind of the path that it's not going to be easy, but it's, I learned from him too. He's a good player, and I'm 26 and he's 20. So we're starting to, that age gap is still pretty big, but we're starting to become, closer. And he's a good player, and I learn from him. He's a defenseman and I'm a forward. So, hey, what do defensemen do typically? How can I? So we're constantly feeding off each other, and he makes it a lot of fun.
Well, I'm sure he's picking up on a lot. I mean, at our school in particular, we talk about the importance of modeled behavior, and our scholars, they learn from each other, from being in the environment. They take a look at someone doing something well, or maybe a teacher demonstrating a particular activity. So that model behavior for your brother, I'm sure, no doubt, is definitely invaluable for him. So keep up the good work there. So listen, you're now like kind of breaking into and sort of really working hard to push into the professional ranks, and you have an opportunity, and hopefully the season gets started, pretty soon and safely, and everything gets going. So what's the next steps? I mean, I know, you want to do well and sort of at the East Coast Hockey League, and you want to sort of, get your foot in the ground there. But what are the next couple of steps you see for yourself within hockey? What are the next things for you?
Well, currently, I'm helping out run a online virtual hockey camp, which is, I've always worked with coaching and doing camps in the summers and stuff. I want to work in hockey to some capacity. And I think that I could do both right now, where I could still focus on trying to achieve my ultimate goal, and still give back to the community in some way. I think that I could, you learn by teaching, and, the kids that I teach, some of them are 6 years old, some of them are 13, but you see some of their tendencies, and then you kind of look in the mirror and be like, oh, maybe I still do those things. Or I think just teaching them helps. And I've kind of grown a love for that and appreciation for that, for coaching. It's very rewarding, and it's an awesome thing to do. So I think ultimately, like, the goal would be to play at the absolute highest level. And still, I love this game, and I want to be involved in it to some capacity. And there's so many different ways you can be involved. There's the coaching aspect. There's the private coaching aspect, where you work with players one-on-one. There's now a video coaching aspect, where you strictly dissect players' videos. There's agents. There's multiple different ways, but I think being able to ultimately give back to this game is something I'd love to do, and I think I'm slowly building my resume towards that.
Yeah, well, you still got a lot of playing time left in front of you. I know that, again, like you said, it's nice to have an idea of what happens beyond, the hockey, or at least I should say, once you're done playing, but you still have you got seasons in front of you, and wishing you the best of luck with all of that. I'm sure things will turn out just fine. You've always seemed to overcome obstacles. And, again, I think the season, if I look at my crystal ball and my hopes and expectations, the season will get started soon. And players like yourself will have a chance to just get back on the ice and keep moving forward. What was one of your favorite players, or maybe you have more than one, growing up, or that you look to now, that you think either maybe you emulate your game after? You're a pretty big forward. I mean, I think it's easy for sometimes us to describe you as a power forward because of your size and your skill set. But I mean, I don't want to typecast you. Who are some of your favorite players growing up that maybe you fashion your game after, or that you look to now?
Yeah, well, a player that I grew up watching was Scott Gomez. He played for the New Jersey Devils. He was a Hispanic man from Alaska. Yeah, I believe his parents were Puerto Rican, I believe, and Mexican, or Colombian. So seeing him at Devils games, he was playing for the New Jersey Devils, and I'm just starting out playing. Seeing him was crazy. The last name Gomez in the jersey. I always looked up to him. As I get older, I start to see players like Tom Wilson on the Washington Capitals. He is 6'4", 225, and I'm 6'3", 6'4", 220. So he's not far off from me, and or I'm not far off from him. But he's a player that's just very versatile. Usually players of that size and of his sort of role don't really play with the top players in the league, but he's found a way to bring his game and play on the top line with the top player in the entire world by a player named Alex Ovechkin. And he finds a way to get the job done. That versatility that he brings, he can make plays, he can shoot the puck, he can make big hits, and he's also willing to fight, which is something that is unlike any other sport. It's what pro hockey has. It has fighting, and that's an aspect that if you can bring that, it adds some value to you. So I think he's a good example of how maybe and he's a very skilled player. But it's the National Hockey League. He might not be the most skilled player in the National Hockey League, but he has found a way to surpass many players who are far more skilled than him. And he brings immense value, a crazy amount of value to that team, so much so that they put him with the best player in the world. So seeing guys like that who I play very similar to, same size, same build, it makes me think, okay, what's he doing? And I try to learn from that. And I say, okay, how can I add some of that into my game? And you just slowly build and work towards that. So he's a player that I like to watch.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right. I'm looking at my notes, and I have a couple more questions for you. I mean, what do you consider your greatest strengths? And I know we probably maybe have touched on it, but some of your greatest strengths as an athlete and as a person. And then name a couple of things that are most important to you, just in general.
Okay. So you said my attributes as an athlete and as a person, correct?
Yeah, as a person, you can take either one or both, whatever you want to shoot for.
Well, think as an athlete, I think I have, and this is kind of both as a person and as an athlete, I guess you could say, but my work ethic. Yeah. I was never, ever the biggest player or the biggest person. I was always very small, especially when I was playing with you, Sean. I was always tiny.
Yeah. I definitely remember the growth spurt.
Oh, yeah. Which I am blessed to be now 6'3", but my father's 155, 160 pounds, and I'm 220. So yeah. I've had to fill out quite a bit, and that's not easy. Genetically, my body wants to stay small, as far as thin as possible. Yeah. But consistently working in the gym to maintain that weight and keep it up, I just wouldn't be where I am without my work ethic. So that's one thing that I think it's translated to a lot of things outside of hockey. So I think it's able to, I was a scholar athlete at school, so I did well in the classroom. So it just goes to show that what I take care of outside of the classroom, I also take care of in the classroom. And I think that translates to a lot of things in life. Mm-hmm. Second, I'd have to say, I think it's just my ability to be just a good character person, I think has taken me a lot. It's taken me pretty far in my career. I think I'm very respected as a person in the locker room. I'm very respectful to my teammates. I'm very respectful to my coaches. And I always try and do the right thing. And I think those things have really developed my reputation in the hockey world.
Right.
I'm known by many coaches to be a very respectful person, and I always do the right thing. And I've been told that has been a factor in what's got me to the next level as well. Opportunities have presented themselves that maybe typically wouldn't have, just strictly because of how good of a person, how good of a teammate I've been. So I think that character aspect was huge. And then finally, third one, attribute, let's see. I think for my size, physically, I think typically guys my size aren't the best skaters or have the best hands, but those are two things that I've worked tirelessly at, which ties back into my work ethic. Those things I wouldn't have achieved without my work ethic. So I'm very thankful to be able to have my skating ability for my size and my stick handling ability, because it's a little it's an intangible, as Sean likes to call them, that an attribute that has also been able to take me places that maybe I typically wouldn't have been able to. And then what was the other part of that question?
Well, no, I mean, I think you kind of touched on most of it. I mean, you know, you talked about your strengths as an athlete and a person. Well, the only things is just three things that are most important to you. If you had anything you want to chime in on that, I mean, it doesn't obviously have to be, well, it's funny, you know, we ask these questions and we say it doesn't have to be sports related, but as you answer them, like you did in this last one, you know, that work ethic and that perseverance and all those things, it kind of is both, isn't it? You know, it kind of touched on both. So the last question being, you know, a few things that are most important to you in general. I mean, if you have any thoughts on that.
I do actually. Yeah. I think three things that come to mind are the support that I've had in my family. And Sean, you're family to me. So you're right in that mix. I think, like you said before, I'm no chance where I am without my family. Also, you know, Sean, right in there. It's like, I'm not where I am without a
Hey, well, as
doubt.
soon as this whole COVID thing is over, I'm coming over for dinner.
Yeah, there you go.
But,
And then secondly, I'd have to say it would be my health. I'm
mhm,
very lucky. I have not. I mean, I just had my first injury. It was a knee surgery, first major knee injury or injury in general. I've been very healthy thus far. Knock on wood.
yep.
No major injuries, and I'm super grateful. I wake up and I'm thankful for that every single day.
Mhm,
It has never stopped me from consistently pushing my physical boundaries. And finally, is something that I didn't really understand until recently, but I'm so grateful for how hard my road's been.
mhm,
I've always talked to Sean about this, like, man, why can't I get 3 seasons of just jumping up the ranks, moving quickly? Why is it always I'm getting cut everywhere? And
mhm,
why is it I'm playing in maybe some of the most undesirable locations, living in the most undesirable, you know, conditions?
mhm.
And it's just recently I've kind of looked back and say that they've been unbelievable learning experiences, and how, you know, difficult sometimes were. They've been they've made me so much more appreciative of what could be. And, you know, I look back at the road I've had, it's like, wow, I've come so far. And during it, you think, this is so tough. What am I doing? But, you know, looking back, it's been unbelievable learning experiences from a hockey standpoint, and just as a life standpoint. If I've made it through some of this stuff, I think that um, what lies ahead, I think I'll be able to tackle. So
Yeah.
those are three important things.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, that brings us towards the end, Danny. I mean, one, I want to say thank you so much for, you know, taking the interview. I think that a parent sitting with their child, whether they be a middle schooler or even a younger child, you know, can pull pieces from, I guess, this little interview. At least that's my hope. And from maybe some of the dialogue and the experiences that you've shared that are meaningful to their kids, not just as, you know, obviously just scholars or athletes, but just people in general. I mean, this is not just about a professional hockey player or a former coach. It's really about just people in general and the things you have to do in order to get through challenges like what we're facing now with this virus and all of that. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time and out of your training schedule and your day. I know you do have things going on to take this interview, and I'm excited to share it with our scholars. As far as our scholars and parents listening, hope you got something from it. This is Danny Perez and Coach Sean signing off, and just encouraging you to keep moving.